All right, what is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the Mets Weekly Podcast as we are live at this very moment on YouTube and on X to recap the Mets versus Brewers series as well as the latest news and rumors in New York Mets land. But before we do that, I want to remind everyone to subscribe to the Mets Weekly YouTube channel for new episodes of our show that are recorded live after every single series of regular season games. For those of you watching or listening on playback, you want to join the conversation in the future, make sure to turn on those post notifications to know when we go live. For those of you in the live chat right now, we love reading your comments, your questions, your concerns, all that great stuff. If you feel like you're being ignored, you're not being ignored. You're just being starred throughout the show. We'll try to pull up as many as we can to keep the flow of the conversation going. Make sure to follow Mets Weekly on X and on TikTok for my co-host Frank's instant post-game reactions for every regular season game, which are titled the Mets Frankly Postgame. For our audio listeners, make sure to follow us on all your favorite listening platforms to not miss the audio version of new episodes that go up at 9 a.m. the following day of recording. Also, make sure to give us a 5-star review. It would be greatly appreciated. So without further ado, let's get into episode number 159 of our show. And let me just say, I don't know what direction this show, I kind of do because we have a format, but I don't know how long any one of these tangents are going to be, how long either one of these segments are going to be. And a lot of that kind of just comes from, like I think I said last episode, my blood just completely boiling. This is a unwatchable baseball team right now. This is a torturous baseball team to watch right now. And the biggest challenge for this team right now is basically playing and putting together 9 innings of competent baseball, which, to be honest, has been a rough thing for them all year, but it's finally rearing its ugly head to this team has had problems for a long time, things that we have pointed out many, many times before, and they needed to get better. They haven't gotten better, and here we are in the middle of August, and this team is in a downward spiral. Is the season over? Technically, no. But they're running out of time right now. They have about 45-ish, 40 games left. And I just don't see anything that's an issue getting fixed whatsoever. And I will get into it on the offensive side later on, do a little bit of a breakdown on that, of things that have been pointed out recently, especially on social media. But right now, it is unwatchable. This team stinks. This team is terrible. They look awful. And I feel like I'm one of the few, I'm not trying to toot my own horn or anything, I feel like I'm one of the few who, if they expected to continue to play baseball like this and expected to continue winning, they couldn't identify any problem. And that is what concerns me the most. And right now we're in a stage where I don't think they still can't identify the glaring problem. And it starts with pretty much every single facet that needed to work together in order to be a good team. And it hasn't been all year. It's basically just been waiting for the other shoe to drop. This team, like we said at the beginning of the season, those first 2 months that seemed all great and dandy and with a great win-loss record, we said this so many times, that this team wasn't playing good enough baseball. They were not playing good baseball. They were not playing efficient baseball. And now, none of that has cleaned up. All of that negativity, none of that has cleaned up. And all of a sudden, we see a baseball team that can't do the basic things. However, this has been how it is all year long. the main reason as to why it seems so different is because you have a pitching staff that is not carrying you through the fiery pits of hell right now. Your pitching staff is taking a dip. And everyone's blaming the pitching staff right now. However, they were the one that got you into this position in the first place. If you didn't have those first 2 months, this team would be below 500. This team would be out of the playoff race. They would have sold at the deadline. If they didn't have those first 2 months, where they were firing at, where they were supposedly firing at all cylinders, but they weren't. This offense at the beginning of the year was doing next to nothing, very little to get by. And the pitching was going at a very unsustainable rate. And right now, it's pretty much just the same thing you're seeing for these last 3 months, but without that unsustainable pitching. Who would have thought that would have happened? Because this team is built around offense. And even though the offense wasn't incredibly terrible in this series, it still showed the exact same flaws that have been on display for the entirety of this season. And I already said this Mets team will be going home at the feet of their offense. It'll be at the hands of this offense. The blood will be on the offense's hands. No matter how much the starting pitching struggles to get through 5 innings. No matter how much the bullpen messes up, there will always be a shortcoming with this offense. Because that's basically just how they are. This is what they are. This is what they have been continued to be. And we all know who I'd like to point the finger at, because it's actually become even more clear, especially over these last 24 hours, because I'm going to show you guys some stuff that I think helps people realize what the issue is with the overall consistency with this offense. Even though they see some underlying numbers of this team doing well, and it kind of phases them off of advanced data. So I kind of want to be able to open that up a little bit with people, but not as of right now. This is unwatchable. This is a terrible product of baseball. And to be honest, this is what they've been doing all year. This has been the same team, just a team that doesn't have good pitching right now. That's it. Tell me that this wasn't an issue in the first two months. Runners in scoring position. That's always been an issue. That's been an issue all year. Defensive miscues from young players and the veteran players. Base running miscues. Grounding into double plays. Tell me they weren't doing that the first 2 months when they were in first place and 15 games over 500. They were doing the same thing. It's been here all along. And it was great to see them winning games. It was great to see that. Score more than the other team. Awesome. However, there's a difference between winning baseball games and playing winning baseball. And it will all rear its ugly head when you play 162 games, which unfortunately, that's how baseball is finished. That's how baseball becomes a finished product, with 162 games in the regular season. So eventually this was going to catch up to them. Is there any way out? I don't know, to be honest. I really don't. I don't know. We've got Matt and Daniel in the chat. For those of you in here, make sure to hit the subscribe button if you hadn't already. Hit the like button. We've got plenty to go over in this episode. Plenty to run down. I mean, we are currently in a situation that this team is a complete mess. And we are not in any other sort of direction of where, well, things are looking up for this team. Because it isn't. It's not. I'm not saying it's done. They can always turn it around. Do I see them turning it around? No, I don't. I really don't. And it's sad to say that for a team that you expected to have World Series aspirations, questioning their contention for the playoffs. That's rough. It's the constant underperforming, the constant minimizing, the constant premium. Hard-fought things that shouldn't be hard-fought with the talent on this team that they can't execute properly. And then you also have the leadership enabling them not executing properly, saying that's okay. No one's being held accountable. There's a lack of leadership. Or even if there is leadership, the leadership is not vocal at all. And it's falling apart. It's falling apart. Everyone wants to point the finger at one person more than the other. I have one person that I point it to. Sure, we've talked about it before. We have. And we're going to talk about it a little bit today. Everyone wants to point a finger at them. But to be honest, if this continued the way that it did, this was what was going to happen. This is what they were on cue for. If they kept playing baseball the way that they were all season long. The constant mental mistakes. The inefficient approach with runners in scoring position. Not protecting the plate with 2 strikes. Swinging at breaking balls in the other batter's box. Staring at strikes. All these things add up. All of these things continue to add up. And eventually it was going to show. It's a little less painful for me, and I'm being honest here, because I saw it coming. I saw it. And if you think I'm happy with that outcome of being right about this team, then you're just trying to make a devil out of me. Then you'll just be trying to make an enemy out of me. When in no way, shape, or form was I ever trying to be an enemy. And I was trying to point out the issues before they snowball like this. Before it makes people aware of it. And obviously, I have no impact on what happens in that clubhouse and what happens on the field. But if there's something that I see that's not that great, I'm going to point it out. I don't care how great the team looks on paper. Because how else would it improve? And right now, they're just continuing to be enabled by this performance that's just not okay. No changes, no adjustments, nothing has been made. All season, you have played over 100 games and no adjustments have been made. Can you believe it? Imagine that. And I think that there's plenty of guys to put out there and hold accountable. I think there's more than others. Some will go to David Stearns, which, to be honest, we will get into David Stearns in a second. I'm disappointed, more disappointed than I've ever been with David Stearns. And I have been very patient with this guy. Very patient. And I've been very patient and understanding with him, knowing that these things take time. to build. But now, I am in a position where I am questioning whether or not this team can actually hold up, whether or not this team actually has a future in anything offensively. Because it's been a constant, not only just a constant pattern of who's going to show up every day, but it's also a constant pattern of this is just a complete organizational deficiency. And I'll get into that later. I'll get into that, of this certain approach that this team has that is just so, it's so self-inflicted. It's so self-inflicted how they do this because they don't have to. They don't have to play like this. But for some reason they do. And I'm saying this more on the offensive standpoint. But I've talked about this for so long. And we will get into it when we get to that segment. Because there's plenty I got to get into with that. I'm just very, very unhappy with how the Mets are so satisfied with what they have been seeing all year. And I don't know if that's how they feel behind closed doors. I don't know, because I ain't there. Not there in the front office, not there in the clubhouse. But there's things that are rearing its ugly head right now where I'm a little concerned. I'm very to be honest, I'm very concerned about things going forward. And I think that there's, plenty to be positive about going forward, especially with some of the young guys that could possibly come up here, especially on the pitching side. I'm very excited about the pitching side. Hitting? Not at all. Not really. Because pretty much everything they do is just wrong. It's all wrong. It's all wrong. It's all inefficient. It's all crap. JJ saying hitting is not why we lost today. No, it hasn't yesterday, but no. Hitting's been the main reason as to why this team's underperforming. Just a little extra push for a majority of these games could have been fixed with the offense not underperforming the way that it is. And it's not like you're just asking a bunch of random guys. You're asking former All-Stars, former MVPs, some of the best hitters in the game. Hitting's not the only problem, but it's been a problem for a long time of how they minimize this constantly. And I can't accept it. I really can't. I just can't. It's unacceptable. It really is. And it's sad that these conversations still have to be had. Because I do believe that if this type of either mentality, philosophy, or organization thing, whatever is going on, if there is just a small adjustment, they would be in such a better position. And they would be competing with some of the best hitting teams in all of baseball. That's how talented I know that this offense is. But for some reason, they're just not good enough. They're always not good enough. And I'll talk about that later. I'll get into it. Jay-Z saying we should have a top 5 offense. Agreed, we should. Did I expect that to happen this year? No, I didn't. You guys know exactly why. You guys know exactly why I didn't expect this offense to be as good as everyone was expecting it to be. And we've talked about it many times. And now it's finally coming into light. I'm someone who's been talking about it for 4 years. But now, all of a sudden, this is a problem. Even though it's been holding them back for 4 years. And it could turn them into being a better team. However, it's whatever. I don't want to talk about they didn't do enough at the deadline. I don't want to talk about what they got at the deadline. What's been going... I don't care. I really don't. The goal right now is just to win a damn game. That's literally it. What's holding them back? I missed it. You didn't miss it. We'll give it. I will allow you guys to let it sit, and we'll get into it later on. However, something that I have to do, unfortunately, is run down these games from what we saw in Milwaukee, which was just not great all together, which I'm pretty sure they had the lead in all of these games. And they completely blew it and got swept. So let's start off with game 1. Kodai Senga made the start, and he was pretty solid for the first 4 innings, but it all fell apart in the 5th after he would commit a fielding error to start the frame, which would instantly be followed by a 2-run homer by Bryce Terang. Francisco Alvarez would commit catcher's interference, and Senga would go on to walk 2 batters to load the bases, getting pulled for Brooks Raley. Raley would allow one of his inherited runners to score after hitting his first batter, and allow nothing else to close the book on Senga. 4 1/3 innings pitched, 2 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 unearned run, 3 walks, 2 strikeouts on 79 pitches. The Mets would take an early lead in the first inning. Juan Soto would launch his 27th home run of the year. Starling Marte would add on with a solo home run of his own in the second inning, his 5th of the year, to put the Mets in front 2-0. Brooks Raley would come back out for the 6th. With that 2-0 lead already erased, he'd allow a leadoff hit and retire the next batter for the first out. Ryan Stanek would take over and finish that inning with a strikeout. Gregory Soto would pitch the 7th and work around a hit and a walk to toss a scoreless inning with 2 strikeouts. Tyler Rogers would get the 8th and work around a very rare walk with a trademark 3 ground ball outs. And after being shut down from the 3rd inning through the 7th by Brandon Woodruff and Abner Uribe in the 8th, the Mets would get the tying run to the plate in the 9th against Trevor McGill with a 2-out double from Starling Marte. Jeff McNeil would single to center field. The Mets would send Marte against the arm of Blake Perkins, and he would be gunned down at the plate to end the game, handing the Mets their 5th straight loss, 3-2. Game 2, Reed Garrett would open for the Mets and toss a scoreless first with 2 strikeouts, and Frankie Montas would take over in the 2nd, and he would not last very long. 3 innings pitched, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 2 unearned runs, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts on 72 pitches. Pete Alonso would open the scoring in the 2nd inning with his 26th home run of the year and his 252nd of his career to tie Darryl Strawberry for the franchise home run record. Down 2-1 in the 3rd, Starling Marte would tie the game with a solo home run of his own, his 6th of the year and 2nd in the series. In the 4th, after a leadoff double by Jeff McNeil and a walk to Francisco Alvarez, Cedric Mullins would give the Mets a 3-2 lead on a RBI bloop single. Tied at 3 in the 5th, Juan Soto would put the Mets on top once again with his 28th home run of the year, a solo shot to make it 4-3 Mets. Gregory Soto would come on for the 5th and toss a 1-2-3 inning. Tyler Rogers would get the 6th and toss a 1-2-3 inning as well with 3 ground ball outs like he usually does. However, Ryan Stanek would struggle in the 7th after a leadoff single and a 1-out ground rule double. The Brewers would tie the game at 4 with an RBI ground out. Ryan Helsley would come on and Ryan Helsley would come on, and Milwaukee would take a 5-4 lead on a ground ball that would take a bad hop off of Ronnie Mauricio, following what could have been the third out of the inning on a fly ball to right field. Home plate umpire Ryan Addition would call a pitch clock violation on Helsley late, forcing him to go back out to the mound, and on the very next pitch, William Contreras would launch a 2-run homer to give the Brewers a 3-run lead. Justin Hagenman would pitch the 8th and toss a scoreless inning with a strikeout, and the Mets offense would not respond again to lose back-to-back in Milwaukee in their 6th straight loss in Game 2, 7-4. Game 3, Sean Manaea would make the start and run a high pitch count into the 4th, where it all would unravel from there. A leadoff home run to William Contreras, a single to Andrew Vaughn, a double to Danny Jansen, a walk to Brandon Lockridge, and a 2-run single to Joey Ortiz. He'd finish the inning, come back out for the 5th, surrender a leadoff single, getting pulled for Reed Garrett, who would allow Manaea's base runners to score on a 2-run homer to William Contreras, his 2nd of the game, to close the book on Manaea. 4+ innings pitched, 6 hits, 4 earned runs, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts on 87 pitches. The Mets offense would start off hot in the 1st after a leadoff hit by pitch to Francisco Lindor. He'd steal second base. Juan Soto would drive him in on an RBI single to open up the scoring. Soto would steal second base as well. Nimmo would walk, and after a double play off the bat of Pete Alonso, Jeff McNeil would add on with an RBI single of his own to make it 2-0 Mets. In the 2nd, Brett Baty would launch his 12th home run of the year to extend the Mets' lead to 3-0. In the 3rd, after a 1-out double by Pete Alonso, Ronnie Mauricio would make it 4-0 with an RBI single. And in the 4th, Cedric Mullins would launch his first home run as a Met, his 16th of the year, to make it 5-0 Mets. However, after Manaea's struggles in the 4th, only up 5-3 after a leadoff single by Juan Soto and a sacrifice bunt by Brandon Nimmo to move him over to 2nd, Pete Alonso would make it 6-3 on an RBI bloop double to right field. Following the home run in the 5th by Contreras, Reed Garrett would finish the inning to keep it a 1-run game. Brooks Raley would get the 6th and toss a 1-2-3 inning. Tyler Rogers would pitch the 7th and work around 2 singles with an inning-ending 4-6-3 double play. Ryan Helsley would get the 8th and surrender a leadoff walk, a 1-out single, and a RBI single to Joey Ortiz to tie the game at 6. Edwin Diaz would come into the game to get the final out of the inning and come back out for the 9th, where Isaac Collins would hit a leadoff solo home run to walk off the Mets in Game 3 and complete the sweep 7-6. The Mets are now 63-55 on the season after losing 7 in a row and 10 of their last 11, as they are now 5.5 games behind the Phillies for first place in the National League East and just hold a 1.5 game lead for the final National League wild card. So, I mean, just a disaster. In general, they couldn't put a single department together in any of these games. The offense would start off great, then it would completely disappear. The pitching would not be able to go deep into games. I'm pretty sure every single one of these starters could not get out of the 5th inning. Every single one of these starters could not get out of the 5th inning. That includes Frankie Montas, who literally had to go out there with an opener for him and still gave us 3 innings. Frankie Montas sucks. I'm not even going to continue with dancing around it. Frankie Montas is terrible. He's a terrible hitting coach. Excuse me, I just read a comment. Oh, we'll get into that. He's a terrible pitcher. Montas is terrible. That is the biggest Stearns whiff ever. I try to be patient with that too. No, he's terrible. Starting pitching, struggling the way that we, expected to. Obviously in the more high pressure situations, offense not hitting, offense still takes the center stage. We were expected for this offense to be, carrying at least the 65-35. this season. They still can't do it. They still can't do it at all. Francisco Lindor is completely lost. Not even offensively. Defensively, he was terrible in this series as well. Awful. Brandon Nimmo, lost. Completely lost. And for some reason, he was batting third yesterday. As I guess he's the hottest hitter in the lineup right now, which we all know is not true. Staring at so many strikes right now. He's been terrible for quite a bit. He's been awful. Pete Alonso and Soto Pete and Soto have been fine, but still not coming through when we need them to. When the best hitter and most consistent hitter on your team is Jeff McNeil, you have an issue. And that's not even a knock on Jeff McNeil. Jeff McNeil can't do this by himself. Jeff McNeil is not a featured bat on this team. Shouldn't be treated as one. Shouldn't be batting fifth the way that he does, because that's not where he should be batting on a championship caliber team, but we don't have any depth in that lineup either. So the top four has to show up, but not showing up. They've been inconsistent all year. Everyone's having a career down year. Everyone's been awful to their standards, to the expectation of this team. And even though the Mets scored 12 runs in this series, it always seems like they needed more. Seemed like it. The pitching broke down a lot more in this series compared to the offense. The bullpen, Ryan Helsley, rough series for him. Very rough series for him. I just continue to hold it on the offense. I continue to. I really do. And even these little spurts that you'll get from Alvarez or Mauricio or Beatty, it's still just not enough. Still just not enough. Jay-Z's saying everyone is having a massive down year except Alonso, and even he's cooling off. Alonso's been terrible for a month or two already. That's the thing. And all the baby Mets have sucked too. Complete disaster. And I'm not trying to put it on the baby Mets to carry things, because again, the $2 billion part of this lineup needs to be doing the most. And they're not performing at all. And I know that they are capable of a lot more. That's the thing. We know they are. That's the sad part. We're not dealing with bums here. Not dealing with it. That's the unfortunate part. And that's what really, really sucks about this entire stretch. And it really does show you, in comparison with the Mets and Brewers, of what team actually has it together. That Brewers team, though they may be pesky, they fill in the margins very well. They have good athletes on that team. Like Darren just said in the chat here, let me pop it up here, saying the Brewers make contact, they hardly hit into double plays, and their outfield can throw. They play good defense, which the Mets don't do. It's another thing. It's a product of having guys who are here to hit. And when they don't hit, you're not getting anything else. The Brewers, whether they are probably not going to win because they usually choke in the playoffs, they can play small ball because they have small ball players. Name the small ball players on this team. Maybe Lindor, because he's got some speed, but even he's got a broken toe that he's not able to really move the best on right now. Nimmo maybe a few years ago, not really anymore. Tyrone Taylor, who everybody says sucks, and he's a fourth outfielder. Acuna, he's been terrible all year. Drew McQuinn saying small ball doesn't win the World Series. It doesn't. And we're going to get into that. Small ball doesn't win the World Series. But trying to do small ball with this team, the way that they do, it's disgusting. When this team is built on power, built on extra base hits, built on having thump in this lineup. But for some reason, they just can't figure it out. We'll get into why. But first, I want to talk a little bit about the struggling offense and what David Stearns said, because that will get us into that point. I want to talk a little bit about the comments from David Stearns the other day on the Mets' struggling offense. And this is where I started to really start to question what we're doing here. I don't know if this is different behind closed doors, but I'm getting worried after what I just heard. Because usually David Stearns is very upfront and very honest. I'm hoping. The boss man spoke. David Stearns' comments on the Mets' inconsistent and lack of offense. He was asked about the confidence level in turning it around. He said, I believe in our guys. Clearly, everyone's frustrated. Players are frustrated. At times, I've been frustrated. But I believe this is a good offensive team. I believe in the process we have here, and I'm confident we're going to see that going forward. Now, obviously, the main thing that's been put on blast has been Eric Chavez, which is a name I don't even want to use, Jeremy Barnes, the hitting coaches, of what they are sending a message to these hitters with. And David Stearns was asked if the coaches are to blame for the struggles, if they had a hand in it. And he said, no, I'm confident in our hitting coaches. They have track records and lead a put together quality offenses. This is at times baseball. It will drive you crazy when you have talented players that go through stretches like this. Over the last couple of weeks, we've had a lineup where we've had stretches where we haven't performed to our capabilities. It's frustrating, and everyone is working as hard as they can to turn this thing around, and I think we will. Listen, David Stearns, we know, he's a good baseball mind. He is. However, I completely disagree. And I've always been somebody to give David Stearns the benefit of the doubt for what he has inherited and what he has been unable to control because it's already been here. But I completely disagree with this, because he said we've had stretches like this recently. You've had this stretch all year. This has been all year. You've had this issue all year. Track record. Exactly. What track record? All this offense has done is underperform under these guys. And listen, I'm trying to give it the benefit of the doubt. I'm trying so hard for behind closed doors that he's like, okay, maybe we make a change here. Maybe we make a change here. But to go out of your way and say, it just shows me it's like nothing's going to change this year. Nothing will change. And that's the main reason as to why I'm like, okay, they're done. They might be completely done. Because the way that this team goes around offense, it is not sustainable at all. At all. And it's torture. It's completely torture. Believing in this process that is not a good process at all is bad. Very bad. And I do want to talk about that process and talk about it through a thread that was put out on Twitter by someone named Mets Analytics. If you guys do not follow Mets Analytics, make sure to go follow him, because he did a fantastic thread right here. And it really does come to show how Mets fans who are defending this offense because of the talent on it, for them hitting the ball hard, having all of these types of data that seem to be positive for them, and then it also shows how people on the other side who don't believe in the advanced data and they say that all of this is bullshit and that's why they're failing. It shows you exactly where they're coming from. Matt's saying, I'm hoping that it's just him being professional, even though I want to completely rip apart Chavez and Barnes. If these guys are back next year, then uncomfortable conversations will happen. And they will. They will. If we have Eric Chavez and Jeremy Barnes back here next year, we're going to be having a different discussion about David Stearns. So I'm trying to give it the benefit of the doubt for now. Because if these guys are back next year, oh boy, we're going to have an issue. And if this is not completely revamped, it better be. So here is the thread that was put out about this Mets team. So let me pull this thing up. I'm going to zoom in a little bit for you guys so you can see what we've got going on here. The title here is, Do the Mets Swing Too Late? Talking about, with StatCast data, of how swing data, late swings, the bat path of attack direction, with this offense, of what their approach is. And I want to show it to you guys, of how it looks. He says StatCast now tracks tons of swing data, and we can see where batters are standing in the box, how quickly they swing, at what angle of the bat hits the ball, and more. Here are some of the Mets' MLB ranks this season. They are 29th in attack direction, which is horizontal pull angle, which is to the pull side of swinging early on the barrel window when the bat hits the ball. They're 25th in depth in the batter's box, meaning standing up, basically standing upright, and where they, are facing and where they're trying to direct the ball. They are 30th, which is dead last, in intercept point, which is how far in front of the batter the bat is from the ball when they make contact. So if they're behind the ball, from what angle? Through the Mets, though the Mets have exceptional rate of quality contact, which is third in average exit velocity, hard hit rate, and barrel rate. All these great, everyone says, all this calculator stuff. The Mets have this great underlying stuff, which includes launch angle too, because they do lift the ball fairly well, consistently. They've had unexpectational results. They are 13th in weighted on base average, which is WOBA, and 16th in runs. Already hard hitting and in the air. Is this the part of their approach impacting how efficient their quality of contact truly is? Does anyone remember me saying this for years? how this team just wastes damage on the table? How where they get a pitch to pull and they're slapping it the other way? They try to make minimal contact with outside pitches just to put them the other way. And it ends up being ground outs. Or it ends up being weak contact that does nothing for this team. Have I not been talking about this so much? And look where it is at. Saying one thing that the Mets do is swing fast. They are fourth in baseball in average bat speed. Even though they have those fast swings, they're able to make solid contact. Squared up rate, which is squared up rate, obviously more to center field, at around an average rate. Basically telling you this team has a lot of warning track power. So how many times have we seen this team hit a long fly ball to center field, the deepest part of the park, and it gets caught on the warning track? Even though it was a barrel, it was high exit velocity, then why does it get caught? Could it be, I don't know, that's the deepest part of the park, and only the guys with the natural power on this team can actually do that consistently? Juan Soto, Pete Alonso, maybe Mark Vientos, if he ever figured it out. You add those all together, when they hit the ball, they hit it well. They are second in baseball in blasts per swing, where a batter squares up a ball, and they do it with high bat speed. Obviously showing the Mets are third in bat speed. But here's where it gets weird. If you swing fast, you'll make contact with a pull attack direction. That's correct. If it's any hard swinging team, except the Mets, except us, everyone else does this when they have a lot of bat speed on this team. And it'll show you right here. Of the top 17 hardest swinging teams in average, the Mets are the only team with an oppo approach. Only team. This is including the Yankees, who are a good offensive team. The Red Sox. The Mariners have been good. You have the Braves, who have just been completely underperforming. The Mets are the only team where, on average, 1 degree to the opposite field. So they purposely swing late with good bat speed. Now, I'm not a hitting coach. I'm not a coach of any sort. I'm a podcaster. That's what I do. But if you have a raw ability, right? If you have raw power, wouldn't you want to maximize it the best way that you know how? Wouldn't you want to maximize it? Wouldn't you want to use that power to do the best that you can to contribute? Or do you want to go to the opposite field where there's more topspin on a ball and the ball's just going to keep dying on the warning track? And this is what separates the fact that both scenes are seen wrong. The people who are against this advanced data will say, I don't care if you hit the ball hard. I don't care if you hit the ball hard. Just get the results. This is all ruining these hitters. And then you have the people who like this advanced data and say, well, it's fine because we're hitting the ball hard. Well, guess what? Both of those sides are leaving out the context. This Mets team purposely swings late with some of the best bat speed in all of baseball. And that's whenever I hear from Mets fans, well, these balls are dead. No, they're not. The most efficient fly balls. And I'm not saying that every single time this is true, but in an efficient way. And I will put it in an analogy that some will understand that are usually not into this data. The best way, the most efficient way, is pulling fly balls, pulling line drives. That's for the typical hitter, not Juan Soto, not Pete Alonso. We're talking about the average hitter, the typical average hitter. Guys like Juan Soto, they have the natural power where he can go to any field and dominate. Any field. Same thing goes for Pete Alonso, who also has been minimized by this entire approach of swinging late. And I'll get into that in a second. So he talks about Luis Torrens, if you guys have seen and follow Baseball Savant, you know that Luis Torrens has a really good Baseball Savant page where he's got plenty of red here. Got plenty of red, right? You see ex-WOBA, great quality of contact, hits the ball hard, but gets no results with it. No results. He has a 587 OPS. He has 2 homers. And why is that? Why is that? Could it be that he doesn't pull fly balls? He has one of the lowest in all of baseball. Could it be because of that? And I'm not saying that every pitch needs to be pulled, because if every pitch was pulled, some of them will roll over on the ground. Some of them will be in a different spot. And sometimes you'll miss. Sometimes you'll get under it. I'm not saying that. But, however, when you see a pitch to pull, they should be pulling it. Jay-Z's saying telling hitters to go oppo is the most outdated approach that the old school coaches teach. Pull the baseball. Correct. And listen, when I say that, I talk about this efficiently. And we can put this into an analogy that every baseball fan would understand. Okay? We always talk about it. We can say this in the batting average sense, right? The best hitters fail 7 out of 10 times. The best hitters succeed 3 out of 10 times. When you have 2 out of 10 times, that's considered batting 200, right? That's not good. That's not considered good. So the difference between 200 and 300 is quite a difference there. So let's say 10 batted balls. All of them go to the opposite field. 2 of them typically drop. Pulled fly balls. 10 pulled fly balls, 3 of them necessarily drop and give you more bases as well, because that's the more of that, you know, that's more success, because obviously a double is not worth the same thing as a single. Most extra base hits are pulled. Most of them, not all of them. Not all of them. Again, I'm not saying this as an absolute, because what I'm saying is efficiently. I'm not saying this in perfection. Efficiently. So this team is going to the opposite field with tremendous bat speed that they can maximize, and with pretty much every single pitch. And here it is right here. MLB hitters have a 178 weighted runs created plus when they pull the ball. compared to 108 for straightaway and a 97 when they go to the opposite field. And this has always been my issue with this Mets team for 4 years now. They minimize the raw abilities of this team. And I can even bring it to a certain point with Pete Alonso. Pete Alonso, when he came into the league, a 50 home run bat, right? A 50 home run bat. And now you are in the middle of August and Pete Alonso is at 26 home runs, which we all know it could be a lot more than that. He probably could have 40 right now. So even that gets a little bit minimized. Does anybody ever wonder why Pete Alonso lunges for sliders in the other's batter's box? Why we see that all the time? Why we saw that all the time last year? Could it be that the Mets are attacking late? Could it be the Mets that are attacking late are trying to lunge for sliders and chasing sliders in the other's batter's box? Could it be that? And with him going to opposite field, and even though he does have this natural power, even with him going to the opposite field, we're still seeing a drop-off in the power numbers. And even though he has been doing well with those balls being put in play, because he is so naturally powerful, he can do things to center field. A majority of his home runs have been pulled. So again, if he were to pull fly balls 3 out of 10 instead of 2 out of 10, we're probably looking at, like Jay-Z is saying, 60 home run raw power. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. Unreal. Just unreal. It's crazy, isn't it? It really is. And I will try to pull up as much as I can here. Let me try and see where we are right here. Hold on. Okay. To pull and center field, which are the best square-ups for Pete Alonso. He has 11 home runs that are pulled. He has 9 home runs that are to center field. Guys like Pete Alonso, they don't have to pull. He doesn't have to pull because he's so naturally powerful. But if he were to maximize that raw power, look what you would be maximizing. Look at that. Hitting the ball as hard as you can, being one of the feared hitters in this game. And for some reason, he's at 26 home runs. Why is that? And listen, if he sprays the ball out around the field, he can get the extra base hits because that's how he is. He's so powerful. But again, wouldn't you rather have the 30% instead of the 20%? The more efficient. And I'm not saying pull everything. Again, I am not saying pull everything. That's a different story. Different story. But when you are given a pitch to pull, like let's just bring up a zone here. From the right side. Let's say you're batting from the right side. If you are given a pitch to pull, like right here, in the middle, we've seen so many times with this team where they're taking it the other way. And it's dying on the warning track. And everyone's like, oh, well, these are dead balls. Mets are cursed. Nope. There's been times where this team has taken inside pitches to the opposite field and swung late. They do this all the time. And if you don't believe me, watch the zone very closely whenever you see a Mets game. Watch the zone. Because this team, wherever a pitch is located, they will waste potential damage. And you know who we have seen this on the most? A guy that we've talked about in relation to Eric Chavez a lot. This guy, Francisco Alvarez. How many times are you seeing Francisco Alvarez lazily fly out? Let's see. Let's see some of the opposite field stuff that he's been doing. Some of the opposite field batted balls. Let's see. Okay. Taken to the opposite field. This was taken to the opposite field. Popped up in foul territory. Should have never swung at that. There's a swing decision for you. Should have never swung at that. Up and in. And it's also being sent to the opposite field. An inside pitch being sent to the opposite field. No wonder why it doesn't fly out. I'll show you another one with Francisco Alvarez. Let's see. On this side, middle in, taking it to the opposite field. Swinging late, taking it to the opposite field, he gets a single. And if he were to catch up with the bat speed he has of 73.8 miles an hour, which is way above average, the pitch is inside, and he's taking it to the opposite field. So if he were to swing quick, like he does with his natural bat speed, and unlock it, that would probably be a double in the gap, wouldn't it? And then you're wasting an extra base, wasting potential damage. And I talk about this all the time. This is what this team does. And that's why they are so limited to scoring runs. That's why they are so limited to this type of offense. And that's why they are so held back. And they will continue to be. This team swings late on purpose. On purpose, this team swings late. Not to mention all the swing decisions with this team. All the awful swing decisions. I could go through film of game to game of this plate approach, tearing it completely apart. If you guys want me to do a stream of that, maybe at the end of the year, to completely expose how big of a fraud Eric Chavez is, I will be sure to do that. Pentry saying, yes, the Eric Chavez approach, wait as long as possible so you can better see the pitch, screw your bat speed. That's not good. It's just not good. And that goes for with pitch recognition too. Which, shouldn't the hitting coaches prepare their hitters with that? Shouldn't they prepare their hitters for that? And there was a comment from M. Easy up here. I forget where it was. But he said, how many fastballs has this team swung through? Yes, yeah. How many 94-mile-an-hour fastballs over the middle of the plate have they missed? I wonder why. I wonder why that's a thing. Could it be that they're, I don't know, intentionally swinging late? They're the only team with high tier bat speed that have a opposite field approach. And that's on average, obviously. So for the people that say that pulling the ball is not what you want to do, 1985 called. 1985 called. I don't see how you can just sit here and say, well, let's swing late. Go the other way. Go with the pitch. Which, if you want to go with the pitch, go ahead with the pitch. If it's outside, take it to the opposite field. Because, that's better to hit off a line drive. But like I just said, and I will give you one more right here. A picture. A nice, all these opposite field pitches. Here we go. Francisco Alvarez, right here. This is a good example because he's been talked about this, okay? He has a middle low breaking ball. 1-2 count from Holderman. Middle low, right here, middle zone. You'd expect him, I don't know, to maybe square that up. Nope. Going to the opposite field. On to the opposite field. Pantry's saying not only fastballs, but how many hanging meatballs do we foul off? They swing late. Yep, pop up or ground out. They swing late. Basically it. How much do we actually do damage on? Guys, this is what I have been preaching for 4 years now, and what this team has been held back on for so long. Let's do another one. One more. Why not? For the road. Inside. Or excuse me, that's the opposite. Actually, this is okay, but he needed to lift the ball a little bit. This was a good one. That's a good one. But I can say that a majority, like I said, 3 out of 10, a majority of them could have been plenty of damage. Look at that. Inside pitch. He hit that 105 miles an hour. He hits that to the pull side, squares it up. That probably is an extra base hit. Instead of pulling the ball, doing damage. That's why you see them strike out on on inside fastballs. They want to take it to the opposite field, but they can't. Exactly. So when people tell you this team, they hit the ball hard. They have all these exit velocities. If all these exit velocities, they're high in this, they're high in that, hard hit rate, barrel rate. They're just getting unlucky. No, they're not. No, they're not. They're swinging late. And they're taking balls to the opposite field that they have no business taking to the opposite field. I can do this so many times. So many times I can go with this. Here's one. Here's another one. Pitch is middle up. He is taking it to the farthest part of right field. And it's dying on the warning track. And he hit it 102.5 miles an hour. This is what I call leaving damage on the table. I can do this forever, but I don't know how many of these videos I can play before I get copywritten. But yeah, that's it. They swing late. They shouldn't be swinging late. And it's held this team back so long. And that little adjustment would save them a lot of heartache. A lot. And the main reason as to why we know that this is Eric Chavez, why we know this is Eric Chavez, I mean, listen to this guy. Listen to him. Have you guys seen some of the crap that this guy has said? Some of the shit that this guy has been shooting his mouth off with for years? I mean, I could go on and on about this. On and on about this. I'm sure Matt can DM me the exact quote. This is the one I'm talking about right here. Let me pop it up for you. Oh, whoops. Let me pop it up for you guys. Here it is. I'm not going to talk launch angle. I'm not going to talk about doubles or homers. When the ball leaves the bat, whatever happens, happens. So are we going to try to we are going to try to control what happens in the box and in mind and create consistency, which you don't. And he says, not going to budge on this as much as things change in how smart we get. Keeping it simple always wins. And we all know that he doesn't prepare hitters. We all knew this from day one. I can even pop this one up for you guys too. Here it is. Jeez, I've talked about this guy a lot. Okay. There's one where he said his opening quote as the day that he was hired. As the day that he was hired. He said that we want hitters going up there with as little information as possible. Trying to find it. He let you guys know exactly who he was right away. That's the thing. I'm trying to find it, but for some reason I can't. Is this it? This might be it. Hold on. I'm trying to find it, guys. Sorry. But he legitimately said that we want our hitters going up there with the least amount of we want them going up there with the least amount of information as possible, and we want their athletic ability to take over. Who on this team has the athletic ability to take over a game? Who? And this was in 2022. Maybe Marte before he got injured. Eduardo Escobar, Canna, those guys aren't fast. I feel like Eric Chavez probably would be a perfect hitting coach for the Brewers. Perfect. It's disgusting. Really is. I don't know if it's, I don't know, maybe it's just completely deleted from memory. And this is when it gets me a little bit concerned. Because obviously there's been the impression of Alvarez, right? All right, well, I guess I'm not going to find it. The impression of Alvarez. We've already seen Beatty struggle a lot. We've already seen, Vientos struggle. Jet Williams just got called up to AAA. Carson Benj, Ryan Clifford. I want them nowhere near the major leagues right now because of this idiot. Because of this guy. Because of this guy here, Eric Chavez. I want them nowhere near the majors because he's just going to ruin them. He's just going to send an awful message to him. It happens every single time. And why does everybody notice? Why is this entire team in a slump at the same time? Why does everybody can't contribute at the same time? I wonder why. I wonder why they're so inconsistent. Because most of the time, they're doing inefficient things. And you don't have to tell me right now. Again, this is the thing that bugs me so much about people with advanced data is that obviously they don't use it properly, and they tell me exactly. Well, we're getting unlucky. We're hitting the ball hard. We're lifting the ball. We're getting our ball hard. We're hitting barrels. Well, are you pulling barrels? Are you pulling fly balls? Are you doing the straightaway center? Are you doing the most amount of damage with topspin in mind? Because the same people that will tell me with advanced analytics, with Baseball Savant and all of these advanced numbers, which again need to be seen as a resource, not a Bible. Everybody that tells me this won't just scroll down to Baseball Savant, the same resource they're using, and see pull air percentage and see that highlighted. The only section that's highlighted under batted ball profile. Again, when I talk about this so many times, I talk about it. Advanced data needs to be used properly in order for it to be efficient. It needs to just be used properly. It's a resource. It's not a Bible. And that's what I feel like a lot of fans don't understand. What a lot of people who are against analytics understand. We're not talking about it as, well, analytics never fail. They can fail. Analytics is about efficiency. And that's why I really think that a lot of these advanced data pieces that I love to look at, all these advanced numbers, gets a bad spokesperson. It really does. Because the messenger is not showing it the right way or showing it in the right context. Again, I can go on and on. I can go on and on about this, of how wrong this is. But if you want to know why this offense is underperforming, that's why. This team as well, I think I even have it here. I can pop it up. I had it as one of my posts recently. Let's see. Here it is. The Mets have the lowest pull rate in all of baseball. Lowest. Game 4 saying they will be like, good news, Mets fans. The players are barreling up the ball, which means the laws of averages. Eventually, these balls will drop for hits. No, they won't. Because they're doing the 2 out of 10 approach. And with everyone that says that batting average matters, 2 out of 10 is 200, right? 3 out of 10 is 300. The difference between that, good hitter, bad hitter. It's the same thing with the amount of times that they pull the ball, go to the opposite field, or use center field. And until this philosophy changes, this offense is going nowhere. Radiant saying, I'm a little confused. Chavez says he wants to give them as minimum information as possible, but it seems like they're out there with a bunch of crap in their heads. So what is the actual, besides taking the ball the other way, which is relatively dumb to do unless the pitcher gives you a pitch away? Exactly. Again, it's basically just the fact of hitting everything where it is pitched and waiting for the ball to come to your bat, which is something that you usually do when you don't have the big bat speed. You don't have the high bat speed. That's something that guys like Luis Arraez, they succeed with. Every hitter is different. That's the thing. But the Mets, it always just seems like every single one of these guys will waste damage. Will be late on a fastball. They will swing and miss at fastballs. Not to mention the staring at strikes, because they're so indecisive. They're so indecisive on putting bat to ball. And that's what gets them in trouble. This approach sucks. This philosophy sucks. And it's going to continue to suck. And this offense is going to continue to go at that 2 out of 10, which is batting 200, compared to the 3 out of 10, which is batting 300, which we know is a big difference. That's the analogy that I will use. All right? Not to mention you add in the fact that pitchers throw out of the zone a lot less now. You don't know how many opportunities that you're going to get. So you might as well make the most out of that one opportunity of the pitch that's in the zone, a pitch that you get to hit. Would you, on a middle fastball that you get, would you take that the other way for a base hit? Or would you try to pull that in the air and try to get an extra base hit, which can be more impactful? Not to mention, in context with this Mets team, if you get your single, and you ground into a double play and set up the double play, who's fast enough to beat that out? And people will tell me, and look at that list of teams that don't pull as much. The Brewers are right on there. The Brewers just kicked our ass. Well, guess what? The Brewers have speed to create bases. They have speed where they can create a single, put a single into a double, go first to third, steal bases, where all they need to do really is make contact and put the ball in play, because they can make stuff happen. Can this team do that? No. Brandon Nimmo is going to be using his athleticism fully to be, stealing bases all the time and beating things out. Pete Alonso's going to beat out double play balls. Vientos, he's going to beat out he's going to beat out ground balls. Juan Soto, no. And everyone will tell us in that argument that the Mets have been so good with stealing bases. Well, that's not has anything to do with it. That's good for the amount of jumps that they're getting. That's good base running. Base running and speed are not the same thing. They're two things of the same coin, but they're not the same thing. You can be mediocrely in speed and steal a bunch of bases if you get a good jump. The speed helps, obviously. But Juan Soto, Nimmo, they're not stolen base threats. They're not. Even Nimmo has stopped pulling fly balls, which he needs to do. Doesn't. Guys like Lindor. Believe it or not, the most efficient approach on this team this year has been Jeff McNeil. He's been pulling line drives. Pulling line drives, adding a little bit more power to his game. It's crazy, isn't it? Crazy. D's saying the talent is there, and that's the sad part. Imagine having that talent and wasting it away. Just continuing to waste it away. And I kept tweeting it out, saying, wasting the ceiling, wasting the potential. And it's sad. It's really sad. And that's why this offense will never be as good as everyone thought it would be. That's why. There's your reason. Because the approach is outdated. The approach is not good. The philosophy sucks. And the guy that's relaying the message is an arrogant piece of shit. Now, speaking of guys that Eric Chavez can't ruin, let's go to the pitching side real quick. And I want to talk about a discussion I feel like we kind of have been overlooking a little bit because obviously it shouldn't be seen as a factor. It shouldn't really be seen as a factor. But right now, as you're in this final stretch and the deadline is passed, it's definitely obvious that we're getting very, very close to it happening. And that being the debuts of Brandon Sproat and Nolan McLean. Now, here's the deal. The Mets pitching staff has obviously been struggling recently to go deep into games. It hasn't really been quality that has been the problem. It's been quantity of innings. Them going deep into games, giving them quality starts. And then also the fact that they just, were kind of overworked into a sense 2 months into the season where they were always in these tight spaces and they broke down because the team's not built around pitching. But you do have two guys in Syracuse right now named Nolan McLean and Brandon Sproat, who are two of their top prospects, two of their top pitching prospects right now. And they're both in Syracuse, and Nolan McLean, I'm pretty sure, made a start yesterday. So here's a little bit of a rundown of what they have been doing this year. Now, let me just make one thing clear. These guys are obviously waiting in the wings. We know that, they are seen as possible options going forward. Nolan McLean this year has been remarkable. He has been fantastic across AA and AAA. Last year, he had a really impressive year, but not as impressive as this year where he is just completely broken out. He has a 2.46 earned run average, a 3.58 fielding independent pitching. He has faced faced 450 batters. I mean, he has been phenomenal this year. He's made 17 starts. A majority of them have been, actually it's been kind of cut in half in AAA. So, again, he was a third-round pick in 2023. 23 years old. He's their third-ranked prospect right now on Pipeline. right now. It's probably different on different websites. Arsenal grades, you look at it, he has a plus sweeper, a plus sinker, a plus fastball, a plus cutter, and a plus curveball. He has a changeup, which is not a plus pitch, but he does have some good command of it as well. Can be a little wild at times, but the strikeout stuff is insane. 26.7% strikeout rate, not allowing that many ground balls. Contact manages fairly well. He's pitched over 100 innings this year, 109.2 to be exact. And then there's Brandon Sproat, who's their 5th-ranked prospect right now. He was a second-round pick in 2023, same draft class as Nolan McLean. Made 22 starts this year. And to be honest, to start the year, he really did struggle. But however, recently there has been kind of a little bit of a revamp here. Recently, for Brandon Sproat, over his last 8 starts, I believe it's his 8th start. Yes. Over his last 8 starts, he has a 1.91 earned run average. And he's given up, I'd say, about 5 earned runs in total in that stretch. He's walking a lot less batters. The strikeouts are up 27.1% in that stretch. And also his velocity is up as well. He was kind of sitting 95, 96 all year. And then I guess there was some kind of adjustment, and he's back to hitting the 99, 100, which has been since the middle of the middle of June. So that has been very, very impressive by him. He also has 4+ pitches out of his 6. His fastball, again, it's not a plus pitch, mainly because of the inconsistent shape that we have had a lot of these different, scouts talk about. However, when you touch high 90s, you compare it up with a very good changeup that you have that can tunnel. And then, of course, being a little bit more of a sinker baller now, where he has induced ground balls at a rate of, hopefully I can get this correct. Sorry, I don't want to, at a career high now, this is a career year, of him getting ground balls at a 54.5% rate this year. That's a little bit, that's legit. Is he more of the starting caliber that maybe Nolan McLean is? Who knows? We don't know what the future is for these guys, whether it's in the rotation or in the bullpen. Here's the main thing as to why I'm a little bit hesitant, not hesitant, but I'm a little bit, I don't know. I'm a little bit half and half on the fact of this. Yes, the Mets could call them up today. And I think both of them deserve a shot right now because both of them have found some really good consistency in AAA, and they've done very well recently. However, I don't think this is going to be the problem solver that people are looking at it to be. And the reason why I say that is Sproat and McLean are likely going to be on innings limits. We saw what happened with Christian Scott, where it looked like his arm was a ticking time bomb until he needed actual Tommy John surgery. Remember Christian Scott from last year? He's been off the face of the earth. We haven't heard anything about him. They're going to be on innings limits. They're still going to give you, at best, if they perform well, they're going to give you just 5 innings. Which, again, could be connected by this super bullpen that they made at the deadline. Which is fine. If that does end up happening. Who's first? I'd say that it would be Brandon Sproat, because he has pitched more innings. So we'll see. I'm very interested to see when these guys do come up. Brandon Sproat, I was very high on him coming into the draft. They actually drafted him twice. The first time that they drafted him, I was really very upset that they didn't get him. They got him again in the second round, got him for more slot money. And then Nolan McLean, I really liked as well, who I think they could contribute. However, I don't think that they're going to be the saviors that everyone thinks they're going to be. I think a lot of people have this vision of when it was Harvey and Syndergaard and Wheeler and all these guys coming up, where, these guys came up here and they were big contributors. The game has changed since 10 years ago. It's a lot different of a workload. These guys aren't adjust to it. They have to ramp up. They have to ramp up into the major league workload. One thing that does scare me about Sproat, and there's a main reason as to why when we saw his velo down all season for a majority of this season, Sproat has never had Tommy John surgery before. And when it comes to pitchers these days, it's more scary that they haven't had Tommy John surgery than when they've had it. Because it's a prerequisite for these guys. It is. You kind of just have to have it. Pitching's not a regular motion. Nolan McLean had arm surgery while he was in college. He was a reliever. So again, that's another reason as to why he needs to get some innings. Listen, if they were to call both of these guys up, I would love to see them call them up I would love for them to both be the September call-ups. I would love for that to happen. They send maybe a reliever down, and they have 2 spots in the bullpen or something. I would love to see them call them up. But again, I don't think that this is going to be this big contribution that everyone thinks it's going to be. That's just how I'm saying. I think that it's going to be organized with kid gloves. Maybe next year it's seen as guys who can come here and come through here, but the workload is always a concern. It always will be a concern for these guys. Lounge Zinger saying odds Tong is called up. Jonah Tong was just promoted to AAA Syracuse yesterday. And I actually saw him pitch live yesterday. So he was just promoted right after that. And he was promoted to AAA Syracuse. So he's definitely going to get AAA innings. I don't think Tong will be pitching at all for the major league team this year. I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's going to get plenty of innings in AAA. It's going to be similar to what happened with Brandon Sproat, but hopefully it's a little bit better. So we'll see how he does in AAA, but I would not count on Jonah Tong being in the major leagues at all this season. With McLean, with Sproat, very strong possibility you see them pitch. Very strong possibility. Lounge Zinger saying whether they are committed to the August 15th cutoff of, retaining the rookie status, which also makes sense as well. Listen, I know the pitching staff has gone haywire and it's been rough, but we can't see these young guys as the fix. I've never been somebody who loves plugging in prospects, who likes saying, oh, well, these guys are an option. No, they're not. You don't know what they are. So you better think that it's the right time to start up the clock on them. So again, I am really, really excited to see these 2 kids pitch. I'm excited for the pitching in general because there are some guys in the lower levels that have been really good this year. I'm really impressed for what the farm system is at right now. At the major league level, mixed results. However, I'm okay with any path that you want to take with a pitcher because it's a lot different right now. Very different. And even if that does include painful Frankie Montas starts where Clay Holmes is struggling to go through 5 innings, so be it. The future of the team, the young guys, the controllable assets, those guys are important. Their development is very, very important. So I'm okay with any timeline that they want. I want to call these guys up right now. I really do. But we'll see. We'll see. Any position player call-ups? No, I don't think so. I don't think that happens. I think they're going to try to get a full AAA season with Williams, Benj, and Clifford from those guys before they get up here. That's just going to have to be how it is. And I don't want them up here, like I said, with how Eric Chavez helps hitters. I don't want them here anyway. I want them in AAA as long as possible until they get that pig out of here. The future is bright for the Mets pitchers, only because Chavez don't get to touch them. Exactly. And we'll get into more of this during the offseason of some of the prospects, some of the young guys. More of Eric Chavez we'll get into. But again, it's time for another day. Either way, let's get some of the stuff out of the way, including the injury report. Obviously, with Frank not here, I got to take over for him, but we only got 2 players on there, so nothing crazy. Let's start off, of course, Tylor Megill through batting. Mets starting pitcher Tylor Megill through live batting practice on Thursday afternoon at Citi Field. Mets manager Carlos Mendoza stated that the 29-year-old right-hander is very close to beginning a minor league rehab assignment. Megill has been on the injured list since mid-June due to a right elbow sprain. Mets starting pitcher Paul Blackburn completed another rehab outing for AAA Syracuse on Thursday night, tossing 5 2/3 innings pitched, 7 hits, 2 earned runs, no walks, 3 strikeouts on 97 pitches. Mets manager Carlos Mendoza reported that they are very close to making a decision on Blackburn's role on the staff when he inevitably rejoins the team. The 31-year-old right-hander is currently on the injured list due to a right shoulder impingement, which is one of the several IL stints that Blackburn has landed during his Mets tenure. So we'll see what the deal is with Paul Blackburn. I'm kind of interested what they're going to do there. That's very, very odd. Because I don't know how many roster spots they have available here. It probably will be a bullpen role. Justin Hageman will likely be optioned to AAA, probably, as that corresponding move. But I'm not really expecting much for Paul Blackburn, obviously, because it has not really been fun for his tenure so far as a Met, and I think we can all agree. Either way, one more thing, of course, in this series, even though this was kind of a all jumbled episode, studs and duds. One player that was good in this series, one that was not. I'm going to put this as simple as I can possible. Stud, I'm going to give it to Starling Marte. His bat came alive, displayed some power as well in this game. Started off that rally in the first game. He probably should have been pinch ran for. That's another thing with the management. We've talked about it before. Plenty of fingers to point right now. But Starling's been hitting really, really well since he came back from his injury that he had. What was it? His knee, his bone bruise on his knee or something. Since he came back, he has really been hitting well. And then dud, I got to give it to Francisco Lindor. Guy looks completely dead. I mean, he looks like his soul has been removed from his body. And it's really unfortunate. I don't know when this is all going to pick up, like I have said, for the offensive side, but right now, it's looking really, really bad. And I also can put Nimmo there too. He's been awful. Ryan Helsley, you can put in the mix as well. He had a rough series, 2 rough outings. And the starting pitchers too. I mean, you can put them in that category too for not going deep into the games. It was a dreadful series out there in Milwaukee. And now they move to back home to face the Atlanta Braves. Okay. Let's get into this upcoming series with the Braves. Now, we know that the Braves are not having a good season, likely out of the playoff race, but they always continue to give the Mets fits. So obviously it's something to look out for. Obviously with the Mets losing 7 in a row, basically free falling. They have to win these games. They have no choice whatsoever. And if they don't, they're going to continue to fall. And it's going to look even worse in a few days. So either way, upcoming series, some probables here. Clay Holmes will start the series opener. He'll face the laboring Spencer Strider, who's coming back from injury. First pitch is tomorrow night at 7:10 p.m. Eastern Time on SNY. Game 2, the Mets' lone long man, the only guy who can provide length for this team, David Peterson, will get the start. He'll face the former Met, Carlos Carrasco, who was acquired before this trade deadline from the Yankees by the Braves. First pitch will be Wednesday night at 7:10 p.m. Eastern Time on SNY as well. And in Game 3, the struggling Kodai Senga will start the series finale. He'll face the 26-year-old right-hander Bryce Elder. First pitch is Thursday night at 7:10 p.m. Eastern Time, also on SNY. Now, we all know that this Braves team is having just a dreadful season. I mean, there's no way to say it, no way to dance around it whatsoever. This Atlanta Braves team is going through it right now. And even though that may be true, I am still not going to put it past them to kick our ass. Just not going to. Matt Olson still having a really good season, even though he's been underperforming. He still has been good. We know Ronald Acuna Jr. coming back from injury. He has been phenomenal as well. Michael Harris has struggled a lot. Austin Riley hasn't been really the same recently. Sean Murphy has started to pick up a little bit. Drake Baldwin, who is in the running for Rookie of the Year, has had a great season as offensively for the Braves. And then obviously Jerickson Profar back from suspension. We know that Profar tends to kick the Mets' ass all the time. And he is actually having a solid season after signing that contract, coming back from the steroid suspension. We know that our bullpen has gone through the ringer recently, but they've started to pick it up a little bit. Raciel Iglesias has struggled a little bit, but he has been good recently. Dylan Lee has had another good season. Pierce Johnson is another one who's been really good out of that bullpen as well. They've had plenty of guys in that bullpen. They have used a lot of pitchers, similar to what the Mets have done. De Los Santos is another one. He's struggled out of that bullpen. Aaron Bummer has not had a really good season. I mean, there has been, quite a few guys out of that bullpen. I don't know how many of these guys are still with the team. I can probably look this one up. But again, this Braves team has really struggled, obviously. Let's see who else is in that bullpen. Dansbell Hernandez, who I think was just called up. Tyler Kinley is another one. Austin Cox. They've made a lot of different moves as well. They have quite a few injured pitchers. A lot of their rotation. Chris Sale is out. Grant Holmes is out. Ronaldo Lopez has been out the whole year. AJ Smith-Shawver, Spencer Schwellenbach. I mean, they've had an insane amount of injuries in that pitching staff along, just like the Mets have. But here's the one thing I will say. The Mets have lost 7 in a row. The Mets have not played good baseball for a while. And if you're Will White in the chat here saying, done, the Mets ship has sunk, it's not looking good right now. But I can tell you right now, this is the last team that I want to play. Because they can exploit our weakness. They do. The Braves will continue to kick our ass. They just kick our ass no matter how bad they are. And I really don't feel confident in the Mets beating pretty much any team. I think they're going to lose this series. I'll tell you right now. I'm not trying to sound negative, but I think they're going to lose this series. I wouldn't be surprised if they got swept. I really wouldn't. It's not just because of how they're playing. It's because how they match up with a Braves team that, whether it is 16 games under 500 like they are, they still have their number, and they can still beat them the way that they do. It's just not a good matchup for this team. JJ saying, if we can't beat this Braves team, oh boy. We already didn't beat this Braves team. They already swept us back in Atlanta. You guys remember that? Team seems to own the Mets no matter how bad they are. So we'll see what happens. This one is at Citi Field. So you got your home fans in front of you. And let's just hope that it does not go south, because there is going to be some boo birds if that does happen. So there's definitely a lot of frustration. This team is not playing good baseball. It has been horrendous. And I don't see the end in sight right now. I really don't. And I wish I could tell you guys in the upswing, but we did a full analysis on how this offense has held themselves back, on how this offense has done just a terrible job at performing for consistency with runners in scoring position, so many different things. I'm just not feeling good about this team right now. I'm not. I'm really not. Sorry. Hate to burst the bubble. I really do. But either way, we will see what happens. Hopefully, the Mets try to figure it out, but I'm just not feeling good about it. I really am not. I got to be completely honest here. That's what we are. I'm not feeling confident. It seems like it's continuing to snowball. They don't have enough time to possibly turn around what they have been doing, because it seems like a lot of this stuff is just stapled in their brains, and it's not going to improve. Doesn't seem like it. I don't think anything is just going to completely spark up. I don't see it. Maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe they dominate this series, but I don't see it happening. I just don't. I'm sorry. Either way, apologies to Mets fans. I'm going to apologize one more time. Apologies to Mets fans for having to watch this recently. It's not watchable. And if you had another choice to do something else with your time, I wouldn't blame you, because this is just not fun. This is not a fun Mets team to watch right now. But unfortunately, I have to cover it, so I have to watch no matter what. Either way, I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you guys so much for watching, listening. Hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. We went in depth on some of the stuff of what this team has been struggling with. But we'll get into plenty more if this continues to snowball the way that it has been. For those of you watching or listening on playback, you want to join the conversation live in the future, make sure to subscribe to the Mets Weekly YouTube channel and turn on post notifications to know when we go live. Make sure to follow Mets Weekly on X and on TikTok. Follow all of us individually. Of course, TikTok, the Frank's post games after every single regular season game. And finally, of course, let's go Mets. Wake up now, or you're never going to wake up. That's all I ask. I mean, this is just completely unwatchable right now. So try to play better, but who knows? I'm just not confident at all. Sorry, guys. We'll see you guys next time.